In order to use GIMP, you'll need to download it first. It's a free download. It's open source software. So you need to go to gimp.org/downloads. And in this case, I would suggest just downloading it directly, not through a BitTorrent. So you click on the orange box. And then you'll come up with a window asking you if it can save the file, and you click the Save the File option, and it will then save it to your computer. So once you have downloaded GIMP, you then need to install it, find it on your computer, and then run the setup program and install GIMP onto your computer. Just run through all of the default settings and let it install. You'll then see that on your programs bar over here, you now have GIMP as an option. So you click on that and open up the GIMP program. So when GIMP opens up, it will come in two parts, one with as your toolbox and the other as the actual area in which you will work. I suggest you drag them out to fill the screen so that it makes it easier to work with. So let's say you're wanting to create a new slider image for one of your sliders, and you've got to edit it because it isn't the correct size. So you'll have the image on your computer, so you go File, Open, and then you're going to look for the image on your local PC. And that would generally be under your Pictures file, and you open it up. So now you can see that you've got the complete picture in there, but you aren't able to see it. So just click on the edges and just drag it out so that you can see the total picture. So the first thing you need to do is to discover what size is this particular image. So we right mouse click, we hover over the image, and we go down to Image Properties. And in there you'll be able to see what the size of your picture is. So you can see it's 964 pixels by 472 pixels, and also very importantly that your resolution is at 72. Often when you take your own pictures, the camera will save them at a much higher resolution, and you need to change that so that your image for web work is always at 72. So we know that we now need to increase the size of this image, because the slider size that we are going for in this example is 1000 pixels by 350 pixels. So to get the image to the correct size, we click on the image icon and we want to scale the image. So here is the actual width and height, which we want to make to 1000 wide by 350 wide. But firstly we need to get the right width size. So we're going to make that into 1000. This is linking the two, so it will constrain the proportion. So you'll see when I click there, it automatically makes the image the same proportions that it was previously in. And we click the scale button, and you'll see there, because we made it slightly larger, it's popped out to look like a slightly larger image. Now, in this particular case, because of the fact that we're making the image 350 pixels high, if we just scaled it like that, it would make the image out of proportion. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So if I go to Image, I scale the image, and I uncheck that, and I just purely make that 350 pixels, and I scale it, you can see it's flattened out the whole image. It doesn't look like it should. So we don't want that, so let's undo that scaling. What we're going to need to do here is to actually crop the canvas. So in order to crop the picture into the right size that we need, we're going to go to Image, and we're going to go to Canvas Size, and we're now going to change the height to the height we want, which in this case is 350 pixels. And then we will see down the bottom over here what that is actually doing. So can you see there's my picture, and this square around there is what is going to be left once it's been cropped. So we want that ship to be as far in the middle as we can. So we move it around until we've got it into the exact position that we want, and we click the resize button, and we now have the image in the size that we want it If we go to image, scale image, we'll now see that the image is the correct size. So you then want to save that image, ready for use on your website. Now, unlike in most programs, GIMP requires that you export this as a JPEG. If you don't, it will save it in its own format and you won't be able to use it on your website. So you go to File, go to Export As. You'll see now that it's named it Cole. We'll change that to 1000 px so we know that we've changed it. Saving it in the right place, and we export the image. We want it to be a decent quality. You can just click export. So now if you go back to your libraries and you look in there, you'll see that you've still got your original image and you've got your edited image in the correct size for you to use on your website. One of the other types of image editing that you may need to do is to rotate the image. For example, if somebody takes a picture with the camera facing in the wrong direction, when the picture comes out, it looks like this, and you obviously can't use that on your website. You have to turn it so that it looks as it should, and it's very simple to do that. All you do is you go to Image, Transform, and then you want to rotate. Now in this case we want to rotate it anti-clockwise or counterclockwise, so we move it there, and then we would save the image like that. So remember, it's different in GIMP. We're going to export it as a JPEG to save it as the right thing. Make sure you saved it in the right place and you push export. And we're overwriting it because we want it to be the same, so we can replace it, and we now have our image saved in the correct format. Now you may also want to add text, for example, to an image. So if we were going to add some text to this image, we would need to select the text tool over here, and we would then come and click onto there and then type our text in. Now in some instances you're going to want to add some text to the image, or perhaps even another image to the image. In this instance we're going to go through adding some text, and the first thing you want to do is to go and add another layer. This picture over here is one layer, and if we add another layer by going to Layer and New Layer, we'll give that layer the name of text so we know how to refer back to it. We can now in that second layer go and put some text. So we would type in, this is text, and as you can see it's black, so we want to highlight it because it's not standing out, and change the color and also the size. It's far too small there, so let's make it 80. We enter that and there's the text. So if we push the escape button, it will give us the text. Right, so now you want to move that layer, so we select the Move the Active Layer option over here, and we then move the text to where we want it to be. So if we want it to be over there, and you can see it's not moving the background image, it's only moving the active layer, in other words the layer that I'm working on currently. If we now wanted to add another layer to that with different text that we want to put in a different section, we would simply go and add new layer. Let's call that one text 2, and we now would select the text tool and perhaps right over here, this is more text. We need to click off the text icon and move on to the Move tool, which will then bring up that option again, and we can then move that layer to wherever we want. And then once you've finished editing that picture, again you would just go and export it as your JPEG. Make sure it's in the right place so it's easy to find, and it will compress that image into a JPEG and all the layers will be combined. Now regarding your text options, you can make the text, as you can see in here, different colors, different fonts. So if for example you wanted to change the font of the text, you can go to the left over here and click on this icon, and that will enable you to utilize all the built-in fonts of GIMP as well as any extra fonts that you may have installed on your computer. So if I want to change that, you'll see it changes the text there. If I want to increase the size, it's easier to do it over there. If I want to clear the style, I simply click that button, which takes off the bold, italics, or underline options. And then of course you can justify your text, which is left, right, center, spread across the whole space, by clicking on any one of these options.